What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Sideline Summit. I'm Antonio Perez, joined as always by Danny Code DC, UPenn's finest. We are two-man weaving it today, but this is probably, I think, Danny's first episode in like 2 weeks. So good to have him back at the very least. We will be talking about what we think the offseason goals should be for each team that is eliminated. That's going to be the premise of our next couple episodes. We're going to start in the East for this episode. So we'll be talking Bucks, Bulls, Nets, Pacers, Wizards are the 5 teams in the East that are officially eliminated from playoff contention. So we'll talk about what they need to get into during the offseason. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, audio listeners. Leave a like, 5-star review, download the episode. But Danny, let's get us started with summits and plummets.
Yeah, I have a summit that I can't mention right now. You know the news, but I can't mention the summit. But I'll hold that one off. But the real summit is I think 2026 is the year of exploration. 2026 is a year where you unlock new things in life. So I think realizing that and exploring and trying to grow as a person, it's very invigorating. So that's one thing. And then we'll go plummet. Actually, double summit. We'll go double summit. I had 4 goals in a subbing for a men's soccer league last night. Feeling like I'm #back. 2 goals were absolute bangers, like rockets off my feet. The guy that took in front of me when I took the shot was like, "What was that?" And I'm like, I don't know.
That's always good to hear, man. That's always good to hear. I'll say summit for me. I mean, the weather's crappy today, but it's getting better, so can't complain about that. Got Bentley a new brace and harness, so we'll be on the come up soon enough on that knee injury, but he's doing the best he can.
Wait, what happened with Bentley?
Tore his ACL. Told you
I
this
didn't know
like
that.
2 months ago. I think I literally said it on here, actually. Told both you and Chris that he tore his ACL. So, but yeah, he's on the come up. He's doing fine. Going to get him back and locked in. He's been walking. Going to get him into some light running soon, but see how all that goes. Let's go to these off-season goals for each East eliminated teams. Again, we are only doing 5 teams an episode, so
Are we
as you
doing
can
started from the
suspect,
bottom now we're here, or we're doing started
we're
from
gonna
the top?
start with the Bucks. We're gonna start with the Bucks.
Yeah. I feel like
So
moving forward we could talk a little NFL draft. That's 3 weeks out. Maybe not this episode, but
I got nothing for the NFL right now, dude. Just put the tanking teams in the bag, bro. Oh, and it's gonna be NBA playoffs, yeah, bro. We'll get to that at some point, but let's start with these teams that have been eliminated from the East. We're more so talking about what we expect should be their primary goals heading into this offseason, draft-wise, free agency, whatever it may be. With the Bucks, I listed off 3 things. I listed off they have to trade Giannis, whatever that package may look like. I think just the primary thing is just to get a certified building block, whether that is a very good first round pick from somebody else or you get a physical piece of a player who has already shown that he has the tools to maybe be a franchise cornerstone. I think that is the most important thing. While you're at it, I would say sell Miles Turner. Hasn't exactly been horrible this year, but I just think that if you're getting off of Giannis, Turner was brought in to help complement that timeline. If we're turning our backs on that timeline, then I would just, get rid of both of them while we can. And then I would say just bring in a new head coach that matches the timeline of said new franchise player or young star. I think Adrian Griffin may have lost the locker room. Again, I have no idea exactly the breakdown of it. It's all speculation he lost the locker room, but he was a much better coach than what Doc Rivers has been for them for the last couple of years. So I think going back into the direction of maybe a first-time head coach, young head coach, get a good assistant off the bench of the Celtics, or maybe a young assistant off the bench of OKC, something like that would really be instrumental to getting into this rebuild. So that's what I have listed for the Bucks.
yeah, Milwaukee Bucks are an interesting team. They they have no direction. And like you said, they need to find their direction. And by trading Giannis, they find a direction. By building around Giannis, they have a direction. I lean on the side of trading your aging star and getting picks and rebuilding when the team doesn't really have that many assets to kind of build around outside of Giannis. So I'm also on your side there. Giannis needs to go, and for the better, not for any other reason. So evidently, look, Giannis is great, but he's going to be better for somebody else than you right now, and they're going to pay a pretty penny to go get Giannis. So that's how I feel about the Bucks. And it's like the main thing isn't that they stink. The main thing is they have no direction. They're caught in this middle ground since 2021 trying to replicate the same team. And that's just not going to happen. They're not going to go win the finals with Giannis. And they don't have Drew Holiday. They don't have Middleton hooping anymore. It's literally just Giannis and trying to get mid-tier players back. And that's not going to happen. So I'm with you there. They need to move on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean the being honestly, look, if Giannis was healthy this entire year, who knows? Maybe they do get into the play in, maybe they get a top 6 seed. Who I wouldn't put anything past Giannis because when he has been healthy this year, he's been Giannis. I don't doubt his abilities. So like anyone who's trying to go all in next year and they're going to sell the bag or sell the entire shopping cart for Giannis, I wouldn't be mad at it like at all. He's still very much the player that he's been the last couple years. Now, of course, I would also show some worries towards those injuries. He hasn't played in the playoffs the last 2 years because of injuries. He hasn't played a lot this year because of injuries. So it's just something to look forward to, and maybe that another team could use that as leverage. Like, hey, we're taking on this. This is not my opinion, but you could spin it this way: injury riddled star the last couple of years who relies on athleticism and has had several lower body injuries, and he's aging. Just could be a way to finesse the Bucks. But again, it's going to be a little bit. Obviously, they have the ghost of Damian Lillard's contract clogging up some of that cap space, so it could be a little bit before they
Yeah, to
really
me, it
get
doesn't
going.
even matter, though. It's like Dame does the contract is money on the books, but does that even impact their vision? Because right now they have no vision.
Their current vision, no. But if they end up being one of those teams that, see, think about it like this: if they want to rebuild and then they want to be one of those teams, like, all right, we got hella cap space, come, we'll take on those bad contracts if you give us first round picks. That Damian Lillard money, I think it's 20 million for at least 2 or 3 more years.
You know, to me, it feels like a team that when they move off Giannis could do a lot of what OKC did back in the day when they moved off of Russ, and when they moved off and they said, "Look, this is our franchise cornerstone in the last 10 years, but we're moving on." And how did OKC rebuild? They have a dynasty. If you trade Giannis and get the right pieces back, you can build a dynasty. So
that is true. Even with as good as Giannis is, I don't think anyone would be dumb enough to pull the level of Paul George wasn't Russell Westbrook. That's not the point here, but it's like with Russ. Russ wasn't doing this whole trade fiasco thing, and um, so when he was like, I think it's time. It was definitely a mutual agreement. So I do agree there. Maybe if they can just get Giannis to a new team, they can you got your championship, so you don't have to feel bad about it. I think that's the best part, where it's like,
yeah,
the Clippers, they made those big moves to get Paul George and inadvertently get Kawhi Leonard. It's like, yeah, feel bad because you didn't win a championship, and the dude you traded led his team to a championship and is arguably the best player in the world. But like, if you're the Bucks, it's like, man, you got the chip, you got several MVPs with Giannis. It's just that those championship goals are a thing of the past. I don't, I just, you know, call
my
water under
issue
the
is
bridge and just
almost
move
like
on.
I don't know how many teams are willing to pay for Giannis.
That is also true. That is also true.
Like the Spurs, are they Spurs going to mess up their mojo? 60-win team in the NBA? I don't think so.
Yeah, and it's really hard to tell, especially like as of the last like 2 months. If you were to tell me like, okay, if the beginning of the year they were like, all right, we're gonna get rid of Dylan Harper in this trade, I'm like, like I wouldn't, but I understand big time players require big time assets. Now I'm like, no, like Dylan Harper is so obviously a star in the making.
For
And
sure.
I like De'Aaron Fox. The faster De'Aaron Fox gets out of there or accepts a bench role, the sooner we will see Dylan Harper ascend.
You know where I can see Giannis going? And people, it's the place that people are talking Devin Booker's going.
Well, Devin Booker ain't going nowhere, so I'm interested to
Devin, well,
hear.
I'm saying, everyone's talking about Devin Booker going to Detroit. I can see Giannis
He ain't
right
going
down the
nowhere.
road in Detroit.
I could see that. The only problem is, okay, Giannis, as big of a talent as he doesn't solve any of the issues that Detroit has, but you kind of don't question it because it's Giannis. It's Giannis. You don't really,
Like
care.
if you
So
trade like Tobias and Sar Thompson and maybe a couple other pieces.
see, again, you trade in like Tobias is one of their only creators with the basketball, and Asar is a clear cornerstone to what they have going on.
Yeah, but you
You're
have to
trading
move
those guys,
pieces
but
though,
you're
you know?
trading
Like,
those guys for someone who doesn't really solve your issues. If they were trading that for Devin Booker, maybe that makes a little bit more sense because D-Book can shoot, he can create his own shot. That makes a little more sense. It's just Giannis, you kind of got to lead him to a team that either doesn't have a big or doesn't have their guy yet.
sounds like the
Like,
Orlando Magic. Franz, get out the way.
no, that would be. Look, Giannis would make them a better version of what they are now, but it's still not going to look pretty. None
I
of them
know.
dudes can shoot down
That
there,
was a
but
joke,
it would
man.
be funny. It
That
would
was
be
a joke.
funny. I mean, look, he plays some five for them. We move him right. So with that being said about the Giannis talk, we can move on to the Bulls. The Bulls are an interesting team. They're a team that at the trade deadline they sort of accepted their fate as a tanking team. Finally, they fired their essentially the two main pieces of their front office, which is good. They needed to go. One of the worst front offices in the league, them and Sacramento are easily the worst too. So I'm glad to see that happen. They're really finally starting to choose that direction. The only thing they're holding on to is Billy Donovan. But I'm interested to
I don't
see
mind
here
Billy
what
Donovan.
you.
He's a good coach.
He's a good coach, but here's my thing with Billy Donovan. It's like the reason why he just conflicts the direction I think they want to go in with this full rebuild is Billy Donovan is out there to win basketball games. And that's why I appreciate him a lot. And that's why he was a successful college coach, because in college, you have no other goals except win the game. You're not exactly worried about player development unless you're like a mid-major who's trying to build up a really good class, and then maybe their senior year you can go get after it. That's why he was really good at Florida, because it's like I got these guys for 1 to 2 years. Yeah, I'm supposed to like get them better, but on an X's and O's standpoint, my job is to outdo the other guy on the other sideline. That's where he does a good job. With the Bulls, he don't care about Modest's development all too much. He doesn't really care about, you know, I guess Giddy's development to an extent, but Giddy has the ball in his hands all the times, and he's like 5 years into the league. He's still insanely young, which is crazy. Doesn't care too much about Jalen Smith's development or guys like that. So that's my only thing with Billy Donovan. It's not like, oh, get him the hell out of here because he sucks. It's, you deserve better in a way, I would say.
Yeah, it's almost like what happened with Taylor Jenkins in Memphis.
That was a dumb firing.
It was a dumb firing, but
Because
it was
they
like,
were
look,
winning. They were winning. They were a good team.
but they were also
But
they
they
chose
got
the
rid of
direction.
him because, he didn't give Ja the ball enough.
They chose the direction to be bad.
Yeah, but they waited 2 years. Like, it was like an after effect. It's like they were still competing. They fired their best coach in probably the last 15 years and then waited 2 more years to then finally be bad. And truthfully, they weren't even going to face the music this year until like Ja was working through injuries and Jaren, and they were still looking to compete. And then at the deadline, that's where they were like, all right, we're done. We're good. So, but what do you think the Bulls, what are a couple things the Bulls need to make an emphasis this year in the offseason?
Chicago's an interesting team because their fans are loyal. A lot like Philadelphia, where they're going to demand a good product, and they haven't been good for a long time. They've been stuck in this play-in area almost, it feels like, since the D Rose era, and play-in didn't even exist for that long. Chicago needs a star, and I'm not saying Josh Giddey's not a star, but he's a good building block. I think Giddey provides them a building block, but they need to be able to go and get, quote unquote, who they wanted to trade for a while, apparently, is Anthony Davis. They need to go get an Anthony Davis. I'm not saying get Anthony Davis at this point, but they need to go get an Anthony Davis. They need to go get like a take a risk on a young player, and that's what they did with Giddey when they traded Caruso. But they need to find some strong wing talent, especially in the long power and small forwards. And there's plenty of it in this draft class. So they better hope the lottery balls fall their way, and they'll be smiling at the end of the day. So they should go into the draft really prioritizing getting some wings and even a center in free agency. If they can go do that, and keep the team young. I don't think you want to go sign a vet right now. Maybe one or two, but at this point, you want to keep the team young and let them develop. And that's why I kind of like the Billy Donovan thing. It's like, is Billy Donovan really meant to lead a team full of guys who are 22 years old? I hope not. He's better than that.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head on a couple points. One, you said you hope you get lucky on that lottery. I just spun Tankathon 3 times. They got 9 all 3 times. So that just may be the area they're landing. And while I do agree, I think they could kind of start to begin to flesh out this roster. They had a lot of guards, and a lot of them are going to be moving on in free agency. I cannot see them taking Rob Dillingham's team option. But
hey, man,
the
I just
only
did it 3 times. They got 2, 3, and 3. So somewhere between 2 and 9.
if you get the second overall pick, you are golden.
Ecstatic.
Here's the thing, though. So here's some. Well, I guess it wouldn't really interfere too much, but this is what I was saying. If you get to the 9th pick or whatever you pick in the draft, I think they just need to take best player available regardless of position. I'm not exactly worried about, if the best player on the board is a point guard, don't let Josh Giddey stop you from drafting said point guard.
I
If
disagree, man. You can't go take
I,
Braden Burries.
okay, what if they move up and they have Keen Wagler on the board? Well,
That's
he's more like
perfect.
a 2. Well, he's more
That's what
like
I'm
a 2.
saying. It's
That
like
would be money. Okay,
Wagner
what
would
if
be perfect.
they Darius Acuff or
Acuff would
Michael
be
Brown
awesome.
Jr.? I wouldn't.
But
I'm
Giddey
just
almost
saying.
plays like a 2 with a point guard
I'm not
mentality.
saying no. I'm not
Yeah.
saying this person has to replace Josh Giddey. That's not more.
Yeah.
That's not really where I'm at with it. What I'm just saying is that don't worry about. Just start bringing an influx of young talent. That's more so the purpose I'm going with. The real, like, what would really hit the nail on the head if they could bring in one of these forwards that could pair with Modis. That would be really nice. In a worst case scenario, if they were to like fall back, there are some bigs at the end of that lottery that could kind of go their way. Maybe there is a lot of guards though, so maybe they can just handle that later. But I mean, yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you though. My only thing is just draft best player available. Worry about how you're going to make it look later. Just get the influx of young talent in. And then, yeah, I said prioritize the center and free agency, just because the bigs in this class aren't exactly they're not going to be in the top end of this class. Is basically what I'm saying.
You know
They're
what's
going to be
crazy?
more so mid to later in the first round.
I'm gonna play a scenario for you.
Okay.
They get the 9th pick.
Okay.
Would you rather them take LeBaron Falone, or would you rather them take a Braden Burries, or take a risk on Yaxel?
They can't take Yaxel, man. They were just one of those teams. They can't take Yaxel. One, it's a little bit of a stretch still, just because he's a little bit of an older prospect. I think at 9, that's a little bit much of a reach, even though I have come around to him a lot as a potential NBA player. I would rather go with LeBaron Philon. LeBaron Philon would be awesome for them now that you say it, actually. Now that you say it out loud, he's the guy I'd rather get paired with Giddey. He really brings it defensively, can play with pace. That's what Josh Giddey wants to do. That's what
Exactly,
Modest
run the
can get up
floor.
and do. They can fly up and down the court. Maybe that's the one. Maybe that's
And
the one.
maybe tying it back to the Spurs, what you were saying is there's a guy who might be playing himself out of the rotation, and he also could pair very perfectly with Josh Giddey. He's not in the same timeline of his age.
We're talking about Fox.
De'Aaron Fox would be a perfect fit next to Giddey.
Yeah. I would still keep Fox around for long because there are going to be points in that playoffs here, like in the playoffs this year, where it's just like at least someone who's been here help us out. And him and HB are going to be big. Like Harrison Barnes has been pretty decent for them. I know
Yo, all-time
he's
winner.
at
Shout out.
facts. All he does is win and collect his bag.
I collect
Can't
my
be
bag
mad at
if
it.
I was him too. Show up to
Yeah,
work, get the bag.
yeah. We're pretty much in alignment with that one too. Let's move on to the Brooklyn Nets.
Oh boy, oh boy. The Brooklyn
Yeah,
Nets.
they're I kind of my first goal for them was again same thing with the Bulls. I said in I would say look to invest in some kind of bigger forward or just a center in this draft, but Jaeger Demon and Nolan Trayor, they can't stop you from drafting guards to an even larger extent than Giddy. Like if Acuff, if the best, if they get a top 3 pick and Darren Peterson's on the board, yeah, I don't care about what Jaeger Demon has done for me, even though they could probably share the court. That's a good thing about Trayor and Demon is at least they are bigger guards, but they're point guards at the end of the day. So, or at least Demon is. So that was one of the points I had draft wise. And then everything else I pretty much have for them. The net for the Nets, Claxton and MPJ, man, it's just time. Get what you can before it's too late. Don't let them start to hit a potential decline, and then you're not getting the draft capital that you can get back for them. And then I just remain patient with Jordy Fernandez. He was kind of thrown in a dumpster fire Brooklyn Nets team that was after the Kevin Durant trade and whatnot. And I think he's been very solid, all things considered, especially given what they gave him to work with this year. Yeah, they weren't great, but I think you saw decent player development from different guys. Anybody who can see through the gaze knows Danny Wolf is not an NBA player, but damn, he looks playable under Jordy Fernandez. I think he needs a lot of credit for that. So those are the 3 things I have for them.
Yeah, for sure. I think the Nets are really a mediocre team, and I kind of feel the same way about the way they do it at the Bucks, but they need to find direction, and they have no stars to trade. They have a higher draft pick though, and if I'm the Nets, I'm either trading out of that pick or taking. If they don't get a top 3 pick, I'm trading out and going to get more assets because this team's not built to win right now, and I'm going to go get assets and assets and assets and keep trying to build. The more you trade back, the more picks you get. And if they aren't built to win right now, so why not keep getting future assets and hope one can hit? Because clearly the Nets they haven't been able to hit lately. So I think they need to prioritize future assets, not the now. But at some point you need the picks to hit. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I just sent you a message, dude. I need to break real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll just chat real quick. But my point, what I was gonna say, I just ran Tankathon and not only that, well, the Nets fell back 3, which is unfortunate, but the Hornets jumped up to the 4th spot, which is that would be pretty crazy if that were to go through. But as is listed right now, the Nets would have the 3rd pick in the draft. So if they could just land one of those top 3 guys, it would be a real boost to what they have going on. Look, our jury is obviously still out on Trayor, Demon, Wolf, even though I might not be the biggest fans of those guys. You have to still kind of give them a chance, maybe see what they look like with a true franchise cornerstone rather than guys like Claxton and MBJ who are more so ready to be on winning teams and could really go contribute somewhere else. I also think that if the Nets are smarter than like the Bulls, you get rid of these assets now while they're still valuable, while you still have leverage on them potentially, and you could maybe take on maybe take on bad contracts, let them expire, then you open up the floodgates of your free agency, which it has been shown that stars will sign to Brooklyn. Yeah, they're not the New York Knicks, but dang it, the Nets beat out the Knicks for KD and Kyrie once upon a time. So I'm not saying those two would go back there, but my point is that the Nets have all the abilities to take over a free agency one day if they're able to get off these contracts or take on bad contracts and let them expire. And through the draft, if they're able to at least stay in the top 4, I still think Caleb Wilson, maybe not on the level of the top 3 guys, I think he could still be really, really good. I know his season was obviously ended prematurely, but He's going to be, I think, an incredible player. While we wait on Danny to come back, I did just want to, I guess I'll just fill the time with some college basketball. If anybody watched that Final Four, it was pretty ugly, to say the least. Well, UConn Illinois was very fun. I thought that game was. I I've been rooting for Andrei Stojakovic the entire tourney, and he was still strong going to the rim, but wasn't exactly as efficient as you'd like. He and Wagler balled out to the best of his abilities. I think he's going to be an incredible NBA player. I can see him going as high as 5, maybe even 4 in this draft class. And on the other side, Arizona met a team that just played their style of ball. It just didn't matter. Michigan was the better team in this instant. If this was like a best of 7, maybe I could see Arizona bouncing back and then winning, you know, four of the next 6. But that's not how this works. They got caught on a bad night. Michigan was overly physical with them, and they didn't even have Yaxel Lendeborg the entire game. So yeah, that's just something that I, as an Arizona truther, have to live with. It's very unfortunate. It was very unfortunate. Not the game you wanted to see in the national championship. Was, again, boring. Michigan. It was a good defensive slugfest, I guess you could say, but more so it was just bad shot making, creating, and whatnot. Again, like Michigan had 1 3 made or something like that. They shot horrible, but they still played to the level of UConn and how they want to, pace the game, make it real slow. They did that and beat them at their own game. So I can only give all the credit in the world to Michigan. I thought they were actually the weakest 1 seed heading into this, and I was clearly wrong. I was very wrong because I had Alabama coming out of that region. That's not how things panned out. They dominated, the tournament. They're probably one of the best teams in modern history. They're certainly up there. I think they're better than last year's Florida team for sure. I think they could probably go toe to toe with those other championship UConn teams. So huge shout out to Michigan, man. Definitely didn't give them the credit that they probably deserved at the time of making my bracket or even entering the Final Four. I feel like I picked against them several points along the way, and hey, that's why I'm not a college basketball genius yet. But one day I will get it figured out to a science. Let's move on to our next team since we wrapped up the Nets. Let's go to the Pacers, who I don't really think this one will take all too long, but we can still talk about it. The Pacers, what did I have written down for them?
They're such in an ideal situation, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I wrote nothing much to say. Get Halliburton healthy and in the gym with Zubac so that they can really work on their game together. I think that's going to be, incredible. As I said, with this top pick, I said, do not feel obligated to either I said, sorry. With the top pick, do not feel obligated to either A, make the pick, or B, draft at that position I said B, draft at a position of need just because you are in that top 3. Like, it's so talented. Basically, here's my point with the Pacers. It's so talented at the top of this draft. Even if they were, well, they can't fall too far, and then it's the Clippers pick. But if they remain in that top 4, don't worry about if you're on the clock and it's between Peterson and Boozer or Peterson and Caleb Wilson or whatever it may be. You can't lose regardless. I think leave it to a coaching preference. And another thing I also want to note, don't feel obligated to make one of these dudes start. They can come off the bench. This team was just in the finals, which I don't think that they will, but just wanted to throw that out there because Dylan Harper does come off the bench. So
Yeah, I kind of with you. They should shop the pick if they get a top 3 pick. And it's not even like, look, you plug AJ or Boozer into the lineup, like the team's great. But like that right down the road, if you were to offer the Milwaukee Bucks a team for Giannis, right back to that. maybe that's a team that we could see. You put Giannis and Siakam and Halliburton on the same team, and that's an NBA champion contender immediately. I think the reality is like, and the Bucks would love that. They go get a top 3 player in the class, and this is the class that's known to have three really good players. Um, and I'm not just gonna talk about their draft pick here. Getting Halliburton back, and they seemed like a team of destiny to win the finals, and then Game 7 happened. Um, like they slowed down OKC, and no one could do that the entire playoffs. So I think for me, what they want to do is try to build a replica of what they were, and that's a team that had chemistry and had a groove going, and that's the more you get players to build around Halliburton and Siakam, the more that works because they play that run and gun play style. So play that run and gun play style and get a few guys who can D up and still run, and that team stays strong.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that at all. My only issue is that Giannis will have to get comfortable with running pick and roll. I know people were like fantasizing about that when he was with Damian Lillard, but that's just not how Giannis plays. That's just not how he plays. So,
It's
but
almost like the way people fantasized about read options with Hurts and Barkley, in the same way with Lamar and Henry. Like, do they run read options? Sure, but like, is there other benefits of having them on the team? Hell yeah.
exactly, and I thought that was that's actually a pretty good analogy. That's like any mobile quarterback with good running back. There's that's going to be like a small piece to what makes them so dynamically great. So same thing would apply to Giannis if you were to go to the Pacers, even though I don't think they would trade him right down the road, but you never know. We've seen crazier things. So
Yeah.
last but not least, the Wizards. The Wizards, here's what I wrote down for them, man. I said it's playoff time next season. And there's going to be a guy who is an odd man out on this rotation because AD is going to be back full time. Trey Young's going to be back full time. I think
He'll
they
be
need
back.
to
I don't know about
invest
full
in a.
time.
All right. Well, Anthony Davis is going to be back next season. Trey Young's going to be back next season for the entirety of it, not just playing spot games here and there. But they really need to invest in that backup big for you know they need to invest in a backup big that is compatible with Alex Sarr. Obviously, because of AD Anthony Davis's injury history, that's something that they need to have insurance for. And then no one's leash is safe anymore, right? For the last couple years, we just let the kids go out there and make a mistake. You know, go out there, let them develop, let them do their thing. But it's win now moves require win now moves require win now results from anybody. So you can't be, lackluster anymore. I put not the exact same, but Houston looked primed to be contenders this year. And because certain dudes are only playing up to the expectation of, oh, this young up and coming team instead of contender team, they're not on the level that they need to be. So I expect Keyshawn George, Alex Sarr, and Will Riley will continue to be there for sure. Jury is still out on Bilal and Bub Carrington,
For sure.
but I think I know the top 5 guys there at the very least next year. So it's time to go win.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, man. It's there's no denying they need to make a decision of who is going to be in this rotation. And they made their moves in the regular season, not in the off season. Meanwhile, they still do have a draft pick. So
Yeah, all the more reasons
whatever
nobody's
whatever the
safe.
what I'll tell you is this: if that draft pick, I would package one of those guys in the back end of the rotation, see if you can see what you can get. The marbles may fall for them to go get someone in the top 3.
Well, if they do, I think they should take it. I think they should
No,
take it. I don't think
I'm saying,
they're that
imagine they're
close
like
to the
a.
point where
Here's
they
the
can
thing,
just
though.
bail on any sense of developing players.
I agree, but let's say they get the pick 4. And can
I
they get up
trade
to
back.
two?
I
No,
wouldn't. I don't
can they
think I'm
get to
trading
two?
the
Can they
pick
get to 2 or
entirely.
3 and trading like a back end rotation player and some future picks? Maybe. It depends
Nah, if
who
they get
depends
pick
who's in the
two or
top
three,
3.
I'd take it. The
No, I'm
gap
saying,
between the
can they move up to that if they're out of the top 3?
oh yeah. I hear
Like,
what you're
can
saying.
they trade one of those back end rotation players and some future draft capital because they still have it even after getting AD and Trae Young?
Who
So
knows? Maybe.
I think
Maybe.
the as they say, the world is their oyster. They can really decide to do it whatever they want, and there should be some playoff basketball. Like I agree with you, back in Washington D.C.
Yeah, I completely agree. But those are the 5 teams out east that we just went over their offseason goals for, those 5 teams out east that are eliminated. Obviously, next week we will be talking about the West teams. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Audio listeners, leave a like, 5-star review. AP New Freezer, DC Comics. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next week.